Now, my first side hustle, believe it or not, did not make me any money for the first 11 years. And that side hustle was basically YouTube, right? So YouTube, I started around 11 years old, believe it or not. I tried several different niches. Niches are basically different topics and so on, like gaming or comedy or vlogging or whatever it is, right? I tried a lot of different things. However, one thing is, when you're gonna try to start a side hustle, just make sure to do all the research possible on that side hustle. So figure out exactly what does it take to be a YouTuber? How does it work? How long will it take? Who's the best in this industry? How can I learn from them? And by the way, you won't always have the pleasure to meet your mentors, for example, but usually they tend to have, for example, like a lot of books. So just get the books that they actually offer and read those books, buy those books. They're like $10, $15. Make those investments in yourself. But the whole idea behind YouTube is one of those side hustles. You want to get into it, you got to find out exactly, well, first, how does the algorithm work, right? So that's all about SEO optimization. Second, how often are you going to post? Third, you got to make sure the niche you pick is actually going to be one that you're actually interested in. That's where the whole idea comes in back, okay? You have, for example, I'm good at, and for example, lastly, it's going to make you money. But initially, it's not going to make you money in the beginning. That's why you have to have, for example, a main job while you do that side hustle on the side. But you do have a plan, for example, to make income, and that's very important. Now, the second side hustle that I actually had, which is a very popular one I get asked a lot about, is basically flipping phones. For example, people talk to me about this all the time. Tell me how to flip a phone and all this stuff. Initially, when I first started like reselling phones and flipping phones and fixing cracked screen phones and all this stuff, what I did was I went to a store, it was in my neighborhood, and I saw exactly how much they sold the phones for, how they actually fixed it, what their prices were for. I asked questions like, hey, how do you unlock a phone? Where do you source your products from? I have, for example, a boss who wants to work with you. You know, like just trying to intrigue or just kind of like kind of poke at the bear and find out exactly what does this person know that I don't know. And once I found that out, I say, hey, okay, since I don't have that much money, I'm gonna start by basically selling my personal phone. So believe it or not, I sold my personal phone. And then I basically used that money to buy me a cheaper phone. I kept the profits and then basically bought another phone and then bought another phone. Now, the most confusing thing about selling phones that I get a lot is basically, tell me, how do I find out the price of a phone? Where do I go to actually look it up? The answer is, where you're gonna buy a phone is the same place you check what it's actually going for. So when I'm on Facebook or eBay or Craigslist or OfferUp or whatever website it actually is out there, for example, for that phone, I'm looking at also, okay, so if they're going for $60 or $100, and I know for a fact I'm gonna have fees, also what my profit is, I deduct all those things, and then whatever is left over is going to be the price I'm actually able to pay for that phone. On top of that, there are legal ways to flip phones. For example, you can buy lots of phones, like LOTS, lot of phones, for example, on eBay. You buy a bunch of them, they might be cracked, have a few problems, you fix them up, then you resell them for a profit, great. You have people that basically, they lose phones, like for insurance claims. Never do anything crazy and illegal like that just to make a dollar, because it can be very risky, and if you get caught, it's just not worth it. Again, guys, questions that you guys actually have, feel free to comment down below in the chat. I'm reading the chats as we're actually doing this, so if you have any questions, comment down below, let me know. I'm seeing the chat right here. And on top of that, if you want to join me on the Zoom call, feel free to do so. Again, click that link in that's actually pinned and join me in the Zoom, and I'll talk to you one-on-one. The third side hustle I actually had was basically, I tried to flip everything. So that means, for example, anything that had, for example, like a profit margin, I would try to flip it. So that meant, for example, I went to Goodwill, and let me tell you what I did there, okay? I found that basically junk to me might be somebody else's treasure. So I started buying things, for example, like posters, little action figures, clothes, books, snow globes, whatever I could buy from Goodwill, I would buy it. But by the way, before I actually bought it, I would go on eBay, search up the item, and make sure it was basically selling for something. There was actually interest there. Once I saw, for example, the interest, then I went ahead and basically bought the product, then I listed it on eBay, and then I basically made money. But I love Goodwill I love thrift shops. I love all these places because basically, and also garage sales, it was just very, very easy money because you buy a product today for $10, you negotiate down maybe $5, you sell it tomorrow for $70, $75. But again, it is kind of tricky because you won't always find the best item. So I highly recommend, if you go to thrift stores, for example, find those brand made like clothes, or for example, like the ones that are basically like in style, like the Thrasher t-shirts or whatever, and you can basically use those to actually sell and have more predictable income, because you know for a fact people are actually going to buy those all the time. You know for a fact you're always going to be able to find those. Now, my fourth side hustle, what was it? This one was back in 2018, I think. I remember it very well. It was drop shipping. Now, what I did was basically, I used to go on eBay, right? By the way, when it came to drop shipping, I saw a video on YouTube, probably just like you guys do, okay? Back in the days. And I try to find out everything about it. I try to find out exactly who is the best at it. And I found a guy, his name was Paul Jalipsky. He still does it to this day, by the way, Paul Jalipsky. And I found him on Instagram. I found out he had a course and I got the course. And again, you cannot be afraid to invest money into things that are going to potentially make you more money. And when I always buy a course or invest into a course, I always make sure that that person has, for example, a money return policy, meaning, hey, I have 30 days to figure this out. If it doesn't make me money whatsoever, I'm going to refund it, get a charge back on my credit card or whatever it is to get my money back, because I'm not going to pay for something that basically does not work. But you cannot be afraid to invest in yourself. You know, YouTube is great for a lot of information. But when you get a course, for example, with all the details step by step, it can help you a lot more. So never be afraid to go ahead and basically invest in yourself by buying a course or buying a book. That's what I did. So when I did that, the whole idea was basically with dropshipping, by the way, and the context is dropshipping is basically selling something without ever putting your hands on it. And I remember I had a friend back in college that did this and was making like around $5,000, $10,000 per month. I was like, how is it possible that you're making this much money? But back then I thought it was just like a scam or whatever. I just ignored it. And then later on, I started doing it myself. So what I would do is basically, you can't do it this way anymore. It's kind of tricky now. That's why you want to stick to people that are actually doing it like consistently, so that way you know exactly how the industry is changing. But the way I did it was basically, I would go on Amazon. I would find products on Amazon, list them onto eBay for a higher price, obviously. When somebody bought them on eBay, I would buy them myself, for example, on Amazon with their money, and then send it over to their address that they actually gave me on eBay. That's drop shipping. So the profit margins were around like 3 to 5%, but again, you never touch anything. And in my first month of doing drop shipping, I made around $20,000 in sales. But remember, right? $20,000 is not that simple. It's not like 20K. Oh my gosh. It's more like $20,000. And if I made, for example, let's just say 5%, in reality, my profit was somewhere like around $1,000. But on top of that, back then we were also doing cash back. So we had a lot of credit cards, and the idea was that you can actually get a credit card with Amazon that gave you an additional 5% every time you bought something. So just in cash back, I would get back, for example, another $1,000. But overall, those are my top 5 side hustles that I actually did initially. You've got to stop.